can also be noticed an increasing in the consideration for manga as a carrier of not dangerous ideas and imagination. The correlational linearity was supported by high values of the Pearson coefficient. It seems, on the contrary, that the framing of manga as a language does not depend on the study title. It appears, therefore, that manga is universally recognized as a medium with its own language. Some final comments required about these first results. First of all, concerning the images of manga among non-readers. The ideas emerging are generally descriptive and positive. I mean here, especially in their not being negative. This datum, associated with the qualitative data I have been collecting for the last 5 years, shows the power of penetration of manga and of the notion of manga as a reading form, among others, into the social cultural fabric, both in Italy and France. Let us not forget that in both countries we have seen in the past 25 years 3 generations of readers approaching and appreciating manga. The 3rd generation is today in its teenage and is growing up in a culture where many festivals and conventions on Japan and manga are yearly organized across the national territory, in countries which have known the most massive arrival of Japanese animated series and movies in the West. The process of normalization of manga as a cultural form has arrived, I am inclined to affirm in looking at this combined data, almost to its accomplishment, thanks to a co-presence of factors among which we cannot forget anime, not only on television, but also in theaters. Among the words chosen to define manga, many non-readers wrote Miyazaki, Lupin Sensei, and many other concepts and characters which, in the French and Italian experiences, are much more related to anime than to manga. Concerning the images of Japan among the readers and non-readers, apparently, maybe this was the 5th problem, sorry. Concerning the images of Japan among readers and non-readers, apparently what worked for manga's acceptance and the correct recognition of its features, even among non-readers, has not worked in the same fashion for a concept which with much more complex implications and a longer history. It appears that the very same stereotypes and cultural framings are in play both among non-readers and readers. This means, in a few words, that from one side, the story of manga in these 2 countries has produced, on the long run, a fairly correct image of this medium among non-readers. But at the same time, from the other side, manga itself, as a form of reading, has not led manga readers to frame Japan in alternative ways with respect to old stereotypes and clichés. On the one hand, we can infer that stereotypes and framing of Japan coming from outside the world of manga are still very widespread, in mainstream media, in journalism, in the public discourse. But on the other hand, we should address our attention on what kinds of Japans are represented in the manga titles published in Europe, if assiduous manga readers reproduce in their perceptions the very same representations of Japan as manga non-readers do. We could provisionally say that the cultural power of manga is self-referring. Manga sales are not good. Manga sales are good. Manga is cool and a matter of discussion among fans and also in the outside world. But on a large scale, it seems it is not involving almost at all a possible change of opinion on Japan at large. In other words, it appears that not always the cultural and commercial power of a typically Japanese product, as manga is, coincides with an alleged action upon manga readers of the so-called soft power, at least not in the way Japan as a national culture and the people are perceived at large. What of course emerges among readers by comparison to non-readers, especially in the interviews, is a fairly recognizable benevolence and indulgence to an abstract idea of Japan among manga readers, simply because Japan is the land where manga come from. In this sense, we could infer that a slight and localized soft power is in action, but then we should revise our definition of soft power in this context. Besides the quantitative survey, as you already heard, Jean-Marie and I have conducted interviews with readers and non-readers. The same thing has been done in Germany. For what concerns my work in Italy, I have integrated this work on common readers and non-readers with a series of interviews and investigations with relevant people in Italy who in various ways were or are related to the continuous success and diffusion of Japanese pop culture in this country. The people interviewed are television network programmers and producers, manga and anime publishers, comics authors, music composers and performers in the field of animated series, animation directors, film translators and adapters, voice actors, festival directors, essayists on manga and anime, students in Japanese studies, cosplayers, and, of course, manga anime fans. The picture emerging from this composite set of data is complex, but not unreadable with respect to the history of Japanese culture in Italy and of its success. Anyway, and clearly, here and today there is no time to illustrate and discuss all the data materials, but I am confident that there will be the occasion in a fairly close future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.